Hi, I'm Ranger Dave,
And I'm Barbara.
and we're about to give you a tour of one of the most wonderful places on earth. We're going to give you a private tour around the Associated Humane Society's Popcorn Zoo and our animal shelter. We're going to show you all of our animals, how we take care of them, how we feed them, the medical care that they get. We're going to show you most of all, the love and the care and the attention that they all get, Barb.
They're very lucky when animals come to Associated Humane Societies, whether it's the zoo here at Lacey Township or it's the Humane Society in Tinton Falls or Newark. All of these animals get a lot of love and a lot of good care.
You know, I'm really excited about this whole thing. I can't wait to get started. Let's get out in that zoo.
Great idea.
Popcorn Zoo was established in 1977 for the sole purpose of providing a refuge for wildlife that was sick, elderly, abandoned, abused, or injured, and which could no longer survive in its natural habitat. It is one of the few federally licensed zoos of its kind in the United States. As time went on, we expanded to accept exotic and domestic animals who faced similar circumstances. Over 200 of these animals now live in spacious surroundings in the heart of the scenic Pine Barrens in southern New Jersey. The zoo comprises 7 acres and is graced by the indigenous scrub oak and scrub pine. But what really makes Popcorn Zoo so special is that each animal was rescued from suffering, exploitation, and/or death. Each has its own unique story to tell. You may learn these stories as you walk through the zoo, as you leaf through the pages of our booklets that are available, and as you watch this video. You have entered a quiet world where all the residents were once in danger and are now safe. To start your journey, bring your curiosity, your respect for these beautiful creatures, and let us welcome you to Popcorn Zoo.
One of my favorite places to visit at Popcorn Park is the aviary. The one in the green shirt without the feathers is Teresa. Teresa's job is to be sure that these animals, these birds, are well cared for and checked for medical problems. She feeds them early in the morning because birds have a very fast metabolism and need to be fed early and often. As you can see, we have cockatiels and parakeets. All of these animals were once pets and were no longer wanted. Teresa gets to have a very sweet morning because they're always singing to her and they're eager to see her because she's the food lady. She also provides fresh, clean water every day for them to bathe in and for them to drink.
This is Samson, one of the newer members of our family, obviously one of the hooved animals here at the zoo. With his 2 caretakers, Bill and Jeff. Bill and Jeff love to brush these horses and give them all the personal care that they can. Barb, it looks like Samson's gained a little weight since he came here.
Samson is really looking beautiful.
How much do you think that guy eats in a day?
I believe he gets 6 pounds of grain a day and does a quarter of a bale of Timothy a day, so he eats pretty good.
Well, I'll say one thing, he sure looks happy.
He certainly does.
I think Jeff's about to get into the main job there, brushing.
Yeah, Samson's mane is quite a bit to brush.
He's gorgeous. You know, can they do everything these horses need, or these hooved animals need to care for them?
Bill and Jeff are hard workers here at Popcorn Park Zoo. They're responsible for carrying and bringing out all the hay and grain for the various hooved animals. They're responsible for cleaning them as they're doing with Samson. They also help around the zoo, other staff members when they're cleaning up the zoo, removing debris. They're very fine workers and very important to our family here.
What do they do about the feet? I know when you think of horses and hooved animals, you're always thinking of horseshoes and split nails and split hooves and hooves that are too thick and too thin.
Well, you know, the people who work on hooved animals are called farriers. We have a farrier who comes here who cuts and trims the feet of these horses and ponies and donkeys. We also have a different farrier who comes and cuts the hooves of goats. A lot of people don't realize that goats' hooves also have to be cut.
Well, you know, when it comes to these hooved animals, you can see that Popcorn Zoo just isn't horsing around.
No, they're not. There's excellent care here for these animals. In this compound, when you come to visit the zoo, you'll find 3 of our cougars. Sometimes people call them mountain lions, sometimes they call them pumas, but they're all the same animal. This is Sheba. Sheba was a pet, would you believe, tied to a doghouse in the backyard of Manalapan, New Jersey. She was able to get over a wall on her chain and was choking to death. Luckily, she was rescued. Finally, the people realized that this was not the pet for them, and she was sent down here to Popcorn Park Zoo. In this compound, pretty soon, you're going to see 2 more of our mountain lions coming out to play with Sheba, and they do play. It's a beautiful morning, and they're enjoying the cool air.
Here come Tasha and Cindy, and all 3 of these animals were once pets. You know, people think these things are cute and cuddly when they're small, but little do they realize as they get bigger, they do require special food, a special environment, they have to be taken to special vets, and they are not intended to be pets. And this is how they end up here with us at Popcorn Zoo for a wonderful, wonderful remainder of their lives.
This is Cindy. Cindy was a pet with a young man in Pennsylvania. Unfortunately, she was in the car when the fellow was in a car accident. He was killed. Cindy was escaped and was later captured and brought back here to Popcorn Park Zoo to live out her life. Oh, she has a lot to say this morning. This is Tasha, the cougar, who came to Popcorn Park Zoo from New York. Once again, she was a pet. These animals need special care. They're not meant to be domestic animals kept in someone's home. They need lots of room, and they need some friends to play with.
You know, Barb, cougars in this good a shape can run approximately 50 miles an hour.
That fast?
They are, yeah, guys like this in this good a shape that are this well taken care of, they can reach 50 miles an hour without a problem.
Tasha's doing the kind of thing that your typical domestic cat does. She's going to scratch on that wood a little bit. Unfortunately, in order to have these animals as pets, their previous owners declawed them. So it's kind of frustrating for them to dig on wood because they can't really do what they would like to do. Here come Dante and Gina, our newest additions to Popcorn Park Zoo. John, these animals have quite a background to them. Would you like to share that with us?
Yeah, they're only 4 years old, but they've traveled around a lot. Whoop. That was Gina. She's a little. This is a new pen for her, and she's a little cautious about coming into it. But they were born in East Texas at an animal facility that bred tigers for sale or whatever. I guess I don't know, but it went under very quickly. They really couldn't support themselves. So Dante and Gina were sold off. They're sold off to some woman who had a game ranch where they would hunt. People would pay to hunt antelope, deer, native animals to the state. And she bought these with the idea of possibly having a canned hunt where people would pay money to shoot and kill tigers. And Fish and Wildlife got wind of this proposal she was putting out in ads, and let her know that it was illegal and that she would face jail time and fines if she had done this. So they notified USDA, who was in charge of captive animals and how they're kept, because they needed to be looked at. They were living in a stocked horse trailer that was 20 foot long. They couldn't be cleaned properly. They weren't fed properly. They had urine burns from the hay having all their stool and urine on it. They had burns on their pads, their feet, and their elbows. So after about 7 months of living like this, the USDA told the lady she had 48 hours to get rid of them. She found a small place to hold them, and they spent 2 years at a facility in Hardwood, Texas, where they were in a better condition, but still not a lot of room, and sort of the odd cats out. No one really wanted them because they were everybody had too many. And we found out about their plight. We had some room up at the zoo here, reconditioned some of the pens, and took Dante and Gina in May of 2002.
John, it sounds like in the 4 years these guys have been alive that they've been jerked around like gypsies until they were brought here in an air-conditioned van from Texas. And it's really pleasing to know that they're not going to be jerked around anymore, and they're going to spend a very peaceful and loving life here at the zoo. The fact that we got them from a shelter that went under financially gives credence to the fact that we have to depend on the supporters. Without our supporters, we're going to go broke. We certainly don't want to see anything like that happen here at the zoo. Here's the female part of the partnership. This is Gina. She's a little more timid than the male, however, she's just as gorgeous, just as beautiful, and needs our support just as much.
Once she gets over her initial frightenness of coming out, she does like to come out and lay on the platform and survey her domain. She has quite a nice pen here. The tigers have a pool. Unlike lions, tigers like to swim. Some days you'll come to Popcorn Park Zoo and you'll walk by the tiger and all you'll see is a head sticking out of the water because they'll actually lay in the water to cool off on a hot day. Here comes one of the favorite residents of Popcorn Park Zoo. His name is Bunky, and he's an all-time favorite of all of ours. He came here as a cub, didn't he, John?
Yeah, he came here in 1991. I'm sorry, he's 11 years old now. He was purchased by someone, probably through the black market, when he was about 4 weeks old. Wasn't doing well. It was in the wrong formula, the wrong food. He was very sick all the time, and he was brought to a veterinarian and just kind of dropped off there. People didn't want to, they knew it was illegal, so they didn't want their names known or who owned the animal, so they just dropped it off at a veterinarian's office. The veterinarian contacted us. We worked together, got Bunky, feeling better, and then we took Bunky in here probably when he was about 6 weeks old, and he's been here since, and he's the main attraction.
John, I've always been told that lions and tigers are the largest members of the cat family, although I believe the lions look like they're built more for strength instead of speed. I'd say he's 350, 400 pounds. What do you think?
Yeah, that's about right. Bunky's he's trim. He keeps himself in good shape while exercising his pen. But Bunky, during the summertime, the amount of food they eat has dropped down considerably because of the weather. But he eats about 7 pounds a night, and in the winter that goes up to, in order to keep their body heat and stuff, that goes up to about 12 pounds a night.
I've noticed in watching Bunky from time to time over the years that he does what lions traditionally do, and he does it very well, and that's rest or sleep for up to 20 hours a day. Although lions are the most compassionate of all the cats. A pride of lions, which includes up to 10 to 35 lions, may not always be together. They may separate during the day for various reasons, for play or feeding, but once they get back together again, they greet each other by rubbing their cheeks together. Much like, I guess, the Eskimos do.
I remember Bunky very well when he first came to Popcorn Park Zoo, because being a baby, he had to be raised by a mother and a father, and that turned out to be John and his wife, Diana. So there were many nights at John's house when I would go over and watch the feeding of the baby. He was a pretty good-sized baby, but nowhere near this size. He was raised with John's German Shepherd at the time, and they became fast friends, but when Bunky got too big, much bigger and heavier than the German Shepherd, they had to be separated because Bunky was just too powerful for the dog to deal with.
Here comes Sandy and Candy out for their morning stroll. Sandy and Candy, we assume are sisters. We really don't know. Somebody purchased Sandy in Florida and had her flown up to Newark Airport. When she went through customs, they had some questions about whether this was legal or not, and called the SPCA and the Humane Society, or Humane Society branch in Newark. And they went down and got Sandy, and of course it wasn't legal for him to bring her into the state without paperwork and the proper facility. So she came to us. She was here about 3 months, and we got another call. Same guy, he had gone back down to Florida, purchased another cat, and brought it back, this time driving it back thinking no one would find out, until somebody with delivering newspaper or delivering the mail saw the cougar in the front window and called Fish and Wildlife, who went down and took the cat off of the person who had it illegally and brought it, and then the Sandy and Candy were reunited.
John, I just can't help but be impressed with the health and condition of all these animals that we've seen so far in the compounds that they live in. I think this is a great tribute to the support of the sponsors that we have, and I just can't help but wonder what they'd look like or what their compounds would look like if we didn't have this tremendous support.
No humane society can do its job without the help of people around the country who care about their animals. We have tremendous support for these animals. The zoo, I'm so proud of this zoo. It's very clean, it's well kept. The animals have all the creature comforts we could possibly give them, from the pools for the tigers to the platforms that they can sit on and play on. And these animals have a good life here. They're fed well, they look good, and they enjoy. They enjoy seeing the people. Sometimes they perform when people come here to the zoo to visit. On a Saturday or Sunday, there'll be somewhere between 600 and 700 youngsters and parents here to see our animals. And it's always fun to see their reaction when they see these big lions and tigers and cougars in the middle of the Pine Barrens of New Jersey. Okay, this is Louis, our llama. Louis has been with us since 1990. He was only about 4 months old when we first got him. He was being sold by an animal dealer when he noticed that there was something wrong with Louis's eyes. It turned out that Louis was blind.
You know what family of animals llamas belong to?
No, what family?
The camel, except they don't have humps. They're the largest member of the camel family that lives in South America. They're most useful down there as a pack animal, but there are some places in the world where you show your wealth by how many llamas you have.
Well, I know Louis is quite an interesting animal, in particular because when he came here, we found out that he was blind. He had what was called juvenile cataracts. Popcorn Park Zoo made arrangements with a New Jersey veterinarian to operate on his one eye, remove the cataract, and then thereby giving Louis some vision. So Louis sees pretty well now.
You know, llamas can also be very stubborn, but this is inbred. Where they do use them to work, if they feel their load's too heavy, or if they feel they've done enough work for the day, they'll just lie down and they won't move at all.
Louis is very excited because it's breakfast time. He gets an herbivore pellet, which is suited for animals who are herbivores, who eat vegetables. He also gets timothy, and he gets hay, similar to horses. And it's his favorite time of day when the meal comes. Louis will grow a very long, thick coat of hair. He's been sheared recently because it's more comfortable for him and it keeps him cleaner. Actually, I think he looks quite handsome today. Now making his debut is the newest tiger addition to Popcorn Park Zoo, Caesar. Caesar is a 2-year-old tiger who came from Texas, as did Gina and Dante. However, from the time he was a little boy, a little kit, Caesar had a skin problem. Could you explain that, John?
Yes, Caesar was born at the same facility where Dante and Gina wound up until before they came here. About 3 months old, he started to develop a skin problem and start losing his hair. For the next year and a half, they tried different things, but really couldn't figure out what was wrong with him. Then Austin Zoo Animal Sanctuary, got involved and took Caesar to Texas A&M to be diagnosed and put through some tests. And they found out, what the problem was, and started immediate treatment. So upon a better regimen of medication and better nutrition, Caesar responded well and grew all his hair back. They had him there for about 2 months and located us, knowing that we had taken Dante and Gina, and asked if we wanted Caesar. And we did have an open pen, so he came up here shortly after Father's Day in 2002.
Nobody has to say much about how happy this tiger is to be here at Popcorn Zoo. Now there's one relaxed tiger. He's got a bowling ball somewhere out there in his yard. He passes that bowling ball around while he runs like a soccer ball. He's absolutely amazing. He's like Peck's bad boy. He also likes to run and jump and land on top of one of these dirt piles with all 4 feet hanging over the sides like a frog. He's just having a lot of fun, and he couldn't be happier to be here, and that's the way it's going to stay.
Right now, Caesar's pen is partly under construction. He's going to be getting a swimming pool similar to what Gina and Dante have, so that he can enjoy the water also.
Because of Caesar's problems since he was very young, he actually was never kept in any cage or facility, probably bigger than 12-foot square. So this is a palace for him. When he gets out here, he didn't know what to do with himself the first couple of days that he got in the yard this big.
Caesar will have his own swimming pool eventually, but right now he enjoys a nice spray down from the staff. We have a flock of rheas here at Popcorn Park Zoo. These animals came originally from South America. Some time ago, some people thought they could make a lot of money bringing rheas to the United States, raising them in large flocks, and then slaughtering them and using them for food. But the American public didn't go well with the American public. So where rheas used to pay maybe $10,000 for a pair of rheas years ago, now you can buy them for $10 sometimes at auction houses. We try to discourage people from doing that because you can see by the size of these creatures, they need a lot of space and they need a lot of care. They're not really that great for food, and although they lay large eggs, very often you have a problem with salmonella with them. David, I see you have something really interesting with you.
Barb, this is a real rhea egg, and that's no yolk. It's colored a very pretty yellow. I don't know if they come in different colors, but I know they'd be real hard to hide at Easter time.
Boo Boo's a little black bear. She's declawed because she was raised at a petting zoo in Iowa. When she started losing her hair because of poor nutrition, the owner of the zoo decided to trade her in for a car. There was a fellow who was having a deal where you brought something to trade in and he'd give you a car, and the man traded in Boo Boo. Well, the car dealer didn't know what to do with Boo, so he gave her to the Sioux City Humane Society. They contacted Popcorn Park, and we accepted the 2-year-old into our park. Her hair has grown back. She's in excellent health. Because she was declawed and she's very friendly and unafraid of people, she cannot be released to the wild. So she'll always be here at Popcorn Park Zoo.
You know, Bart, most bears are actually larger than they look because of their thick neck, their thick fur, and their loose skin. The huge hairy heads also add to this appearance. Bears have very small eyes and they can't see very well. And their small, rounded ears stand up very straight and give them excellent hearing. They also have an excellent sense of smell, but you know they walk differently than most animals. Most animals walk or run on their toes, but a bear will put down its whole foot firmly on the ground with each and every step. So it usually moves like it's dragging its back feet, but it's not really.
This is Maggie. She's a lechwe, also known as a water buck. We got her in Popcorn Park Zoo in October of 1991 when she was just 3 months old. She was very lucky because these animals breed well in captivity and they're traded from zoo to zoo, and sometimes there are too many of them. So they're sold to hunting ranches where people can go and pay money to shoot the lechwes or any other kind of animal that they have on hand. Maggie came here after her mother refused to nurse her, and because the mother was in poor condition. They brought her to a New Jersey veterinarian who cared for her until she was well enough to be sent here to Popcorn Park Zoo. Dave, you have some information on these animals?
You know, Barbara, we were raised calling male deer buck and female deer doe, but there are some other names we can use. Male deer are also called harts or stags, and female deer are also called hinds, H-I-N-D-S, or roes.
We also have some white-tailed deer here in the zoo. They've been with us for quite a while. They're native to New Jersey. Oh, John's here with us. He can talk to us about the white-tails.
Most of the white-tailed deer we have here are usually found by the public, and they believe they're orphaned. And they take them in their house, and they get a bottle from the pharmacy, and they give them just regular whole milk, and they wind up getting pretty sick. What happens is that they're really not abandoned. The mom has given birth, and they're kind of the first 2 or 3 days are too weak to follow the herd. So she beds them down, usually in the edge of the woods in the field, and just goes and tends to them in the morning and at dusk. to feed them. They're born on scented, so they don't worry about predators too much. And this gives them a chance, the 2 or 3 days of this gives them a chance of getting their strength and then following mom with the rest of the herd. People will find them and think they're abandoned, and that's what happens. So most of the deer have come in as fawns that people have thought were abandoned.
All right, here comes Baby. Baby's a special deer in our compound. She only has 3 legs. She came from Barnegat, New Jersey, and when she was found, she was brought to the zoo manager who took her into his home and raised her there. Baby does quite well on her 3 legs and gets along well with the other deer. And because of Popcorn Park Zoo, this is an animal that did not have to be euthanized. She's allowed to live her life out and does quite well with all our animals. Actually, she's a favorite with the children. Baby's also one of our oldest deer. She's about 13 years old.
You know, the reason we say that deer have antlers instead of horns is that antlers are true bones, unlike horns, which are strong, thick, hard layers of skin.
This is Beverly. Beverly was just a newborn baby when she came to us in 1992. John, you remember that call?
Yeah, we had got called down to Mays Landing for somebody had found a fawn and thought it was abandoned. So we kind of argued with them all day. They wanted us to pick it up in the morning, so we left it there, went down that night and stayed with her. A group of deer came through and no one came over to her. We waited all that night. And still no mom had come. So she was truly abandoned. Maybe something happened to the mom. She was hit by a car or something else might have happened to her. So we took Beverly, and that year I think we took in 6 fawns that year. And to keep track of them, we used the alphabet. So we used B. So there was Beverly, Bart, Bonnie, and a couple more that year.
So she's getting to be a little bit of an old timer too.
This is Barbie. Barbie is the matriarch here. She's 16 years old. You can tell. I mean, her hair doesn't grow as good as it used to, and she's a little slower, but she still kind of runs all the does in this yard. She's still the boss. She came to us, I think it was in 1986, and because she was so young, we had a bottle feed her in. Barbie got her name because of, I don't know, she's the smallest, cutest little deer I think we've ever had here. And she would actually crawl up on and lay on top of a phone book and go to sleep. She was so small. But she'd also dance. She'd also, when you're getting her bottle ready near the stove and warming it up, she'd stand on her hind legs and kind of dance around you, waiting for that bottle. But everybody, she was a favorite as a little fawn.
Our fallow family of deer are all together, making a really nice family shot here. Fallow deer come in white or brown or the spotted, as you see in the picture. They're spotted like baby deer, but they're certainly not babies. These are full-grown deer. Very often you'll see them in zoos, Storybook Land. Different zoos have fallow deer, and sometimes they have too many of them and they can't keep them, which is why these animals ended up at Popcorn Park Zoo. They're very pretty and very gentle, but they're very timid, and they do shy away from contact with humans, unlike the white-tailed deer who come right up to you to be petted and fed. The fallow are just a little bit on the shy side.
Fallow deer only live to be about 10 years old, while other deer live to be about 10 to 20 years old. In captivity, some deer do live longer.
This is Bo and Peep and Friend, coming out of their little house where they stay to get out of the sun sometimes. Bo and Peep are Barbados mountain sheep. They were rescued by the society. They'd been abandoned in the woods in Howell, New Jersey. They were hand-raised at the at John Bergman's house, who's the manager of the zoo, and have grown into very lovely little sheep. Dave, I understand you know some things about lambs and sheep.
Well, I know we call the males bucks or rams, and we often call the females not just ewes, but dames. The babies especially are called lambkins. I think that's kind of a cute name for a baby sheep. Lambkin, that's Lambkin. And the females have a gestation period of only 5 months. Now the heaviest sheep on record, if you were to go to the Believe It or Not, I think you would find to be around 550 pounds and stood 43 inches tall.
This is Kika, one of our goats. She's a special story. Right now she's being entertained and played with by Jonathan, one of our staff members. Kika was born on a farm in Warren Township, New Jersey, where several goats were kept as pets. The homeowner suddenly realized that the little kid wasn't standing up, and she was brought to the Society's Newark Medical Department. Although there were no broken bones, it was hard to figure out what was the problem that she wasn't standing. A sling was made to hold her in a standing position, and she was also given intensive physical therapy and daily massages. Most of her life she spent in the Newark Medical Department. When she was finally able to walk normally, they moved her to Popcorn Park Zoo, where she enjoys both human and animal contact. She's very friendly, loves to play, and in honor of the society staffer who gave her daily massages, we call her Kika.
As you can see by the video, Kika's just one of the more fun-loving animals here at the zoo. She'll follow you around the zoo when she's out of her compound. She just loves to have a good time, but she needs an awful lot of support too, you know. She's got a special diet that she eats. She needs a lot of care, a lot of love, and that's what we're looking for in our supporters.
This is Fuzzy, one of our sheep. She was found as a stray in Waretown, New Jersey. Some people had gone to rent a house and she was in the backyard, so they contacted the landlord. He didn't want the sheep, so he called us, and we brought Fuzzy here to live out her life with another sheep called Baba.
This is Baby Ba. The Society received a complaint around March 15th concerning the condition of farm animals awaiting slaughter. This is kind of a sad story with a very happy ending. Staffers went to the premises of the meat company in Newark, New Jersey. Goats and sheep were overcrowded in very small confined areas without any food or water. Inside the truck, other animals were giving birth. Yes, birth. The New Jersey State SPCA contacted the Department of Agriculture, who advised that there were no violations being committed. The SPCA confiscated a goat and 2 kids and returned the next day to take 1 newborn baby lamb whose mother had already been slaughtered. 4 summonses for animal cruelty have been issued to the slaughterhouse. The baby lamb, who became known as Baby Ba, is very, very happy in her new home. She receives special care, she has a pal to sleep with, and her life at Popcorn Zoo is going to be a long, happy, and peaceful one.
This morning we have an opportunity to see Melissa with her charges. Good morning, Melissa. Melissa's in charge of our tortoises. Dave, I understand the tortoises had to be brought in last night.
The other night we had a very cold, rainy night. And while I was securing some of the things in the gift shop, I noticed one of the workers scurrying around out here, gathering up these tortoises and taking them inside where it was warm and dry.
I understand that the tortoises are kept inside during the winter months in the reptile house, and then when the weather gets warmer, what was that temperature John said?
Around 70 degrees.
Or 70 degrees and higher. It has to be for these tortoises to survive out here and enjoy the day. They love walking in the grass, they enjoy being free, and they also enjoy the heat in the wintertime.
Welcome to the Ranger Station. I'm Ranger Dave, and this is Rangerette Linda.
Hello.
This is the heart of the daily operation concerning the public. This is where we get to greet our guests, tell them about the zoo, accept their donations, answer questions, tell them to ask us questions on the way out. We have a radio here so that we can communicate with all the staff members throughout the zoo and the kennel. We can get answers to their questions if we don't know what those answers are. And this is where they head out into the zoo and start their journey to see all of our animals. And now Linda's going to give you a tour of our gift shop and give you an idea of some of the things we have to offer our people here as a memory of their trip to the zoo, besides our snacks and our ice cream.
Hi, when you come to Popcorn Park Zoo, we also have a souvenir shop where you can get many little things like stuffed animals. We have rubber snakes, keychains. We also have a selection of t-shirts. We also have many little card games, memory games, and just all kinds of little trinkets with all kinds of animal memorabilia.
This is Oliver, our steer, or our bull. He was rescued by a young lady named Carol Pugliano. She was at a farm in Vermont, and she saw this baby calf in a pen. When she asked about it, she was told that it was a male and would be sold for veal. She decided that she couldn't let that happen, so she went back and bought the calf for $160. You pay by the pound, 90 cents a pound. And she heard someone talking about Popcorn Park Zoo, so she called us. And we said, of course, we'd make room for Oliver. So instead of being a veal on someone's plate, Oliver is a big and handsome bull who's very friendly and is a favorite of the children here at Popcorn Park Zoo. He's kind of like Ferdinand the bull from the old story. He just likes to sit around and watch people, enjoys eating popcorn a lot. Oh, it's good, huh? You like that? This is Samson. He's a very handsome Belgian draft horse. He came to us on February 13th, 2002. He's a gelded sorrel-colored 20 plus. He's over 20 years old. He's thought to have originally come from Amish country in Pennsylvania and was used as a plow horse at that time when he was younger. He didn't work out well and was sold to a riding stable. He spent about 5 years carrying people around there, and then he was sold to a farm in South Jersey where he spent 3 years before another horse was brought to keep him company. After a year, she died of colic. Samson got very depressed. Horses form very strong bonds with stable mates. He lost a lot of weight. Bonnie James took Samson in October 2001. With the change to a place with other horses and people to spend more time with him, Samson started to put on weight. Bonnie called us to see if we could provide a permanent home for Samson to live out the rest of his life. And that's exactly what he's doing here at Popcorn Park Zoo.
You know, Barb, it's a small world. The tallest as well as the heaviest horse ever recorded was also a horse named Samson. He measured 21.2½ hands, which is 7 feet 2½ inches, and weighed approximately 3,360 pounds. This is Holly, the Sicilian donkey. This sweet little donkey has an extremely placid personality. She is a true princess. She came in with Doreen the goat. They were both part of a 4-H project, but their young owner grew up too and went on to college, leaving nobody to care for the two of them. Sweet Holly would love to expand her circle of friends, and she knows that she needs a lot of sponsors and she needs a lot of friends. So she'll be here. Come and see her, give her your support.
Here comes the boss of the equine part of our facility, Wrangler Jean. Any of you who come to Popcorn Park Zoo are very familiar with Jean. She runs this barn and she runs this corral. She came to us originally as a stray. She was walking the streets of Newark in 1984. She was taken down here to Popcorn Park Zoo, and she loves to visit with people, loves to eat popcorn. We had a little problem. Jean became ill last year. We noticed a growth by her eye and took her up to the Central Jersey Equine Hospital, and it was learned that she had a cancerous tumor behind her right eye. Every opportunity was taken to test and check, and it was found that the eye had to be removed, so Wrangler lost her right eye. She was at the hospital for a week. She did well there. She came back here. You would never know there was any change in her physical condition. She's just doing great, and she's as sassy as ever.
The oldest pony on record lived in France and was 54 years old. The oldest pony in the United States is known to be 53 years old. His name is Teddy. He's only got 1 year to go to break the record.
This is Osa, one of our black bears. Osa and Ursula were the two largest animals we originally took in here at Popcorn Park Zoo. They came from Maine. They had been kept at kind of like a roadside attraction at a gas station of all things, and people would stop and take a look at them and buy gas. It was not a nice situation, so they were rescued by a lady who had a Humane Society in Maine, and she called us and said, could you take these two bears? Well, we were kind of surprised and said, well, we'll give it a try. This is their compound, has been their compound for a long time.
These bears are quite old, and if they were people, they'd be considered retired senior citizens. And all I can say is, Barb, that when I retire, I hope I have some place as beautiful and as caring and loving as Popcorn Park Zoo to take care of me.
Osa and Ursula joined us in 1981, so these two ladies are getting kind of up there in years. You probably know that black bears, or if you don't, they're native to New Jersey. We find them all over the state of New Jersey. They do enjoy water. Osa and Ursula have their own water fountain and waterfall and pool, and they like to go in on hot days. Ursula's coming out to join her sister Osa. These two bears are getting up there in years, so they're getting a little bit slower, and they take their time in the morning. They enjoy a very, very comfortable life, non-stressful for them here at Popcorn Park Zoo.
The average grizzly bear in the wild only lives to an average of 20 years, and the fact that these guys are 23 years old is true testimony to the care and that they get here at Popcorn Zoo. We couldn't do this without the supporters of the true animal lovers in the area, but the fact that they are 23 years old and looking as good as they do, they're doing great.
This is our bobcat compound. We have 3 bobcats at Popcorn Park Zoo. Currently, this is Raja. Raja came from Missouri. It's a Missouri bobcat. People are allowed to have them as pets, and the owner had gotten Raja, had him neutered, declawed, and defanged. But when they moved to New Jersey, it's against the law for someone to own a bobcat. So he turned the animal over to Popcorn Park Zoo. Leah is the shyest of our bobcats. She came from Pennsylvania, where it's legal to own a bobcat. But then, of course, at one point her owner decided he didn't want her anymore, and he decided to turn her over to us. So she's living her life here at Popcorn Park. Still a little on the shy side. Titan came to Popcorn Park in 1991 when he was just 6 weeks old. He was what was considered a surplus animal at a small zoo. They only have room for so many bobcats, and when they get one that they don't have room for, they have to find a home for it. And so Titan came to live with us. Together, Raja, Leah, and Titan enjoy this area, which is very shady and very comfortable for them.
Bobcat gets its name from its very short tail. And in North America, the wildcat is closely related to the Canadian lynx. The two animals look very much alike, but the bobcat has a longer tail, shorter ears, and smaller feet.
Dave, one of the most interesting aspects of running Popcorn Park Zoo is the feeding of all these animals, hundreds of animals that girls and guys are responsible for that work for Popcorn Park Zoo.
This phase of our operation absolutely amazes me, Barb. Would you believe that we use over 1 ton of food every single week? Just a small part of what you see Melanie cutting up here. All of our food is fresh, it's delivered fresh. All of our perishable items are kept in a walk-in refrigerator. All of our frozen items are kept in a walk-in freezer. Just, by the way, you're a shopper, Barb. Just imagine the cost of some of these items out of season.
And they have to be brought in out of season all year round.
These animals eat these same wonderful things all year long. And you know, I happen to know that Melanie is not fixing every dish the same. She is so good at this, and she's done it so often that she knows how many slices of each fruit and vegetable go in every dish, and it is different. You know, the days of using roadkill to feed animals and using secondhand restaurant food are gone. Just to give you an example of some of the things that we use. Melanie uses 2 cases of oranges here every single week. 3 cases of carrots, 2 cases of broccoli, 8 cases of fresh apples, 1 case of sweet potatoes, 1 case of grapes, minus what I can sneak before they put them away, 2 cases of cucumbers, 2 cases of bananas, and 4 cases of fresh greens such as bok choy collard greens and romaine lettuce. In addition to that, the foods that don't have to be refrigerated, we also have 600 pounds of grain every single week.
That's an awful lot of food.
100 pounds of rabbit food, 150 pounds of whole corn, 200 pounds of ostrich food, 50 pounds of specially made bear biscuits with all the vitamins and nutrients that the bears need, 50 pounds of pig feed, 50 pounds of bird seed, and the list goes on and on and on.
Those people who are members, those of you who are members of the Popcorn Park Wildlife Club, can see right now where a lot of your donations and your support goes to provide good food for all of these animals in the zoo.
You know, a lot of people ask me when they come to the zoo, what do we feed our lions and tigers and the other cats in the zoo? Well, let me tell you, they get 280 pounds, that's exactly as much as I weigh, Barb, of fresh meat every single week. They also have a day that we call a starve day, but they don't starve. They get a huge bone. And the reason for that bone is it's very, very good for their digestive systems, and it also helps their teeth. But you know, it's not the only thing we do for their teeth. We do bring in dentists to do dental work on these animals, root canals and any other things that need to be done. But they get a tremendous amount of fresh meat, and they also get a huge bone at least once a week.
Sounds like those lions and mountain lions are doing very well for themselves.
I think everybody here at Popcorn Zoo is doing very well. Thanks, Mel.
Tiny Tim is our muntjac deer. It's an unusual animal, was rescued by the Society in August of 1998 after it was found running loose in Westfield, New Jersey. The muntjac is a musk deer that comes from southeastern Asia and the East Indies. He's very friendly, and he's been named Tiny Tim. This species is a herd animal, and efforts are now being made to locate more of his kind to give him more company.
Deer don't have gallbladders, and I guess there's really no need for one when you see the high-quality food they get here at the zoo.
Deer don't have gallbladders?
Deer have no gallbladders. You'll never see those little scars on their sides.
Just like the deer native to New Jersey, the muntjac grows antlers, the males, once a year, and that's what Tiny Tim is working on now. He's got some little ears, some little antlers going. Pete is one of the many resident pigeons who reside at Popcorn Park Zoo. Some are handicapped, and some, once they're injured and are all fixed up, are allowed to leave, but they decide to stay. Pete's the official stand-in for all our pigeon residents, so when you sponsor him, it's a real bargain because you're getting a whole gang of pigeons.
Pigeons are the large members of the pigeon or dove family. The smaller members are usually called doves, and there's about 300 species of pigeons that go all the way to the Arctic, all around the world. But we only have 11 species here in the United States. And you know, as a kid watching pigeons, I always thought they were extremely fast, but actually the fastest bird's been clocked at 217 miles an hour, and I don't think one of these guys is going to do that.
Zeus and Prowler are our fox couple. Zeus is a silver fox. He came to the Society in June of 1990 when he was just 4 months old. Someone purchased him because she didn't like the conditions under which he was living at a pet shop, and she decided to bring him to Popcorn Park Zoo. He's very friendly, and he is an enjoyable enjoyable animal to be around. Prowler, the little lady in the back, who's also spayed, was also purchased by someone as a pet, and then was abandoned and released and was found looking in people's windows because she was used to being around people. Prowler came to us the year after Zeus in 1991, and they get along very well together. At the present time, the Society has plans in the works to build a larger area and a nicer area for these two fox. But right now, they're very happy together, and they get along well with their keeper.
Fox are members of the dog family. And some of the interesting facts about fox are that they have 5 toes on their front feet and only 4 toes on their back feet. And many of them, this is cute, many of them like to sleep with their tail wrapped around their head, all the way up covering their head and their nose and their front paws, where a fox also has a scent gland right up there at the end of that tail. And many times he can leave an odor which a lot of people tend to confuse with the odor of a skunk.
This is Stitches, the last resident raccoon that we have here at Popcorn Park Zoo. Years ago, we used to get raccoons in fairly regularly, but luckily Associated Humane Societies, which operates Popcorn Park Zoo, was able to work with other people in the state to make the leg hold trap illegal in the state of New Jersey. The trap had caused a lot of damage and injury to dogs and cats as well as raccoons, and we used to get raccoons in that would have to have legs amputated, and they would have to live their lives out here at the zoo. Luckily, without the leg hold trap, we don't see as many raccoons, and Stitches is going to be, at this time, our last resident raccoon. Smokey the bear, one of the favorites here at Popcorn Park Zoo. A much larger bear than our Osa and Ursula because he is the male. He has his own area to play in and likes to climb up on the wood platforms and play with his beer keg. Smokey came to us from a traveling circus and has been here since the late 1980s. He's around 15, 16 years old. He plays with his toys and he likes to get into a little bit of mischief. He loves popcorn and peanuts and will sit up for those treats. People come here and buy popcorn and peanuts and toss them into him, and he's in his glory when he's getting his peanuts and popcorn.
Smokey is not a true hibernator, just as skunks and many other animals are not true hibernators. What that really means is they tend to slow down in cold weather, and they tend to speed up their activities in the warmer weather.
Gloria and Volton are the turkey vultures. They were both found injured by the side of the road. Volton had suffered a break in his right leg and his left wing. Gloria's shoulder was injured, and she was not doing very well. The Florida Marine Conservancy appealed to Popcorn Park Zoo and asked if we would take these two animals. They are now very healthy, but they are flightless. They hope that their sponsors will enjoy seeing them and remember them.
There are two distinctly related families of vultures, New World vultures and Old World vultures. New World vultures are native to North America and South America. Old World vultures are native to Europe, Asia, and Africa. And these guys that we're seeing here are related to the highest flying bird in the world, a Ruppel's vulture that collided with a commercial aircraft at 37,000 feet.
These are the wallabies that live at Popcorn Park Zoo, Jasmine and Hogan. Hogan's the bigger of the two, being the male, but Jasmine is the older of the two. She's 2 years older than he. Like kangaroos, they have large back feet and very big, strong tails. They are a member of the kangaroo family, but they're the smaller version, the wallabies.
I know a few things about the wallabies. I know a whole group of them is called a mob, which I always found very interesting. It could also be a troop or a herd, but for fun's sake, I think we like to refer to it as a mob. Of course, the little guys are called joeys. The females are called deer or flyers, and the guys are called bucks or boomers.
Mickey the goat was born at Popcorn Park Zoo in 1989. Her mother, Hickey, had been bought by someone at a slaughterhouse where Hickey was going to be terminated. And she was already pregnant when she came here, and once Mickey was born, we decided to keep her here as the zoo. Her mother, of course, over the years has passed away. Mickey is very friendly and gentle and loves for people to come visit her. She loves popcorn, so if you come to the zoo and you want to visit Mickey, bring some popcorn with you.
Goat's milk ranks third in worldwide production, right behind cow's milk and buffalo milk. Goat's milk has a tangy flavor and differs slightly in composition even from cow's milk. For example, goat's milk has a much higher content of vitamin A than cow's milk does, but it's got smaller quantities of vitamin C and vitamin D.
Here we have Timmy the Sicilian donkey. Timmy came to live at Popcorn Park Zoo in the early 1990s when his owner, who used him for breeding purposes, decided to get a new donkey. Timmy was out in the cold and nobody wanted him at the time, and we were concerned about his well-being, so we brought him here to Popcorn Park Zoo. He's a nice donkey, but he is his own boss, and he's the boss of this corral area. When it comes time for the horse doctor to come and the veterinarian to come and float his teeth, which is done so that he can chew food better, he's not the most cooperative fellow in the world. And when it comes to getting his shots, he's not too happy. And of course, all our animals are inoculated for their own safety. Timmy is the boss and needs a little talking to when he needs to have his medical exams. However, when he lets loose and decides to bellow throughout the zoo, you can hear him, and it's very obvious that Timmy's in residence here. He does love popcorn, and he does look forward to seeing his sponsors come to visit with him.
Timmy, like many donkeys, is very stubborn. It's tough to get him out to vote, but he does come when you call him to dinner.
About 10 years ago, the Society received a telephone call that there was a goat being kept on the roof of a building in Newark, New Jersey. There were only two reasons that she could have been there. Either she was going to be slaughtered for food, or she was going to be used as a sacrifice in some type of cult worship. Because she was covered, her legs and hooves were covered with tar, she was named Tar Baby. Today she lives at Popcorn Park Zoo, where she is safe and secure and well cared for. She loves to climb up on the platforms that we have for our goats to entertain them and to exercise, and she just enjoys laying in the sun. This is Dodge the Ram. He's quite a handsome fellow with his black coat and his white face and white legs. He came to Popcorn Park in early months of 2000 from Newark, New Jersey. A local resident called the shelter in Newark to say there was a sheep in her yard. The driver went out and found this ram caught between the house and the fence, unable to move. He was only 2 blocks from the same slaughterhouse that Baby Ba was rescued from. We believe he must have escaped and crossed the highway to safety. He was brought to the Newark Facility Medical Department, was found to be healthy, and was sent to live out his life here at Popcorn Park Zoo with his friends. This is Patty, one of our most popular cows here at Popcorn Park Zoo. She was part of a milking exhibit for 10 years in Philadelphia, and the people who owned her used her to educate children about the milking industry and cows in general. When they decided it was time to retire Patty, they asked if we would take her, and we said we certainly would. She has the sweetest face, and she just absolutely loves her sponsors to come and feed her popcorn. Very, very pleasant lady, Patty.
You know, when the colonists first came to America, they found out with their cows that they could increase the production of milk just by taking better care of the cow. And just by doing that, they increased the milk production of the average cow from about 5,000 pounds of milk per year to over 11,000 pounds of milk per year.
I think we've learned, and certainly here at Popcorn Park, we let people know that the proper thing to do is take care of all your animals. Animals rely on human beings for their lives and for their welfare and their comfort. Here at Popcorn Park Zoo, it's not hard to tell that the care is excellent and the animals enjoy being here.
Patty is one sweetheart, and we are more than pleased to have her here with us.
Most of us come into this world to join a loving family. There we are nurtured and protected, and we grow in adulthood. Sonny was no different. He too had a family, but his freedom and his family and his homeland were abruptly taken from him at a very young age. He came to the United States with 40 to 50 other confused and frightened young elephants after a culling in Zimbabwe. They traveled and arrived here without their mothers and aunts to guide or comfort them. We here at Popcorn Park Zoo have a lot of memories of Sonny, but there's one particular memory that's very special.
Sonny had only been here for about 4 or 5 months when John went to open his gates and let him in for dinner. He had been playing in a mud hole on the other side of his gate. When John opened the gate, he stepped back. He saw the most amazing thing. Some might call it a coincidence or John's imagination, but the puddle that Sonny had formed on the ground was made in the exact shape of Africa. At that moment, John looked at him with awe. This was symbolic of all that Sonny knew and felt. We were just keeping Sonny company during his journey home. He's there now. God bless him.
Rhoda is one of our resident rabbits here at Popcorn Park Zoo. Typical of the rabbits that come into the zoo, they are unwanted pets after Easter. Those of you who sponsor our rabbits, such as Rhoda and our little boy rabbit Ronald, are sponsoring all of our rabbits. And because of Popcorn Park Zoo, these particular animals will live out their lives in peace and in a very comfortable home.
We don't usually get a good look at the hind legs of a rabbit because it's beneath a thick cushion of fur. But the toes are actually webbed to keep them from spreading apart when the rabbit jumps.
This is Ethel. She and Lucy are La Mancha goats. In August of 1995, the SPCA raided a house where there were dogs and cats kept in terrible conditions. While taking the dogs and cats out, they heard noises from a barn in the back of the house. Lucy and Ethel were kept in a small area and were in a mess up to their knees. We now have the two of them, and they are housed with some of our other animals like Patty.
There are actually places in the world where people keep large herds of goats as an indication of their wealth.
This is Lucy of the team of Lucy and Ethel, the La Mancha goats. Lucy's getting a little bit on the older side and she needs some medical treatment, so we had to separate her from Ethel. But she's allowed to live back here in the back side of the zoo where she can be with the geese and enjoy the leaves and eat the grass and get her medicine regularly. All of our animals get regular veterinary care and their diets are supplemented with vitamins and whatever they need to keep them healthy and happy. We have quite a few peacocks here at Popcorn Park Zoo. This is Pierre, who still has quite a lovely tail, although this time of year they're starting to molt and they will lose all of their tail feathers and then regrow them. Some are just left here by someone who must have owned them and no longer want the beautiful bird, and some of our peacocks we've picked up. Pierre came to us from Berkeley Township, New Jersey, where his owners had moved and left him behind to fend for himself. We picked him up and now he struts his stuff, as do all the peacocks, for a large and appreciative audience here at Popcorn Park Zoo. Pierre is the official stand-in for all the peacocks. Early in the morning when you come to Popcorn Park Zoo, you'll hear them and they have quite a loud voice and they'll be calling out from the trees. The peacocks nest in the trees. They go up in the trees and sit and survey the landscape. They are free to roam wherever they wish in the zoo as well as outside of the zoo. And when people come to Popcorn Park Zoo, they'll see peacocks in trees, walking around the cemetery, walking around the zoo, walking around the parking lot. They are given the right of way because they are very beautiful residents of Popcorn Park Zoo. Emus are large flightless birds from Australia. They're related to the more well-known ostrich. These emus were about 1.5 years old when they came to Popcorn Park Zoo in October of 1996. There was a movement on back in the 90s to bring emus to the United States, raise them, and then kill them for food and oil. But it didn't work out, and the farms that planned to raise them didn't want them anymore. A lot of the babies were sold at auction, or eggs were sold at auction, and people thought, what a cute little pet when they're little tiny babies. But they grow into decent-sized 5-6 foot birds, and they become a problem. Our most recent addition is an emu that the police called us about, who had been either abandoned or lost and wandered into the Earl Ammunition Depot up by Tinton Falls, New Jersey. The animal was causing problems with traffic and had to be captured and was brought here to Popcorn Park Zoo. We have to give them pretty much individual pens because some of them like to fight a little bit more than we want them to here at Popcorn Park Zoo. But they all have lovely pens with lots of shade and good food, and they are just going to live their lives out here and never be used for food or oils.
Emus are one of those animals where it's kind of tough when you're looking at them to tell the guys from the girls. So you got to hang around until they start to communicate with each other, and you'll notice that the females will make a drumming sound from their throat, and the males will make a grunting sound, more of a grunting sound. Now the food, you'll notice you don't see any food or food bowls around in there. Our emus are given a special emu food that has the exact perfect balance of vitamins and nutrients for these guys.
Heckle and Jekyll are two of several geese that patrol the area around Popcorn Park Zoo. They are free to wander around alongside of the zoo, and they greet everyone with flaps and honks and sometimes hisses. But the geese have a very, very nice life here. There's food, there's shade, and a lot of companionship.
The geese rub their feathers with an oil which is produced by a gland near the rear of their tails. This oil waterproofs their bodies, but on the other hand, oil from boats can get on their feathers and totally keep them from flying.
This is Silas. Silas is an African goose. He has been with the society for at least 15 years. He's a favorite with the staff. Always is preening himself and making himself look very handsome, but he is definitely the senior citizen here at Popcorn Park Zoo.
He's larger than a duck, but yet he's smaller than a swan. And he's very special to all of us here at the zoo. You know, there's 13 kinds of geese that live in the United States and Canada. They go from 20 inches to 40 inches. And of course, they're all migratory birds. They fly north for the summer and south for the winter. Some go as far north as the Arctic Circle, and in the other part of the year, they go as far south as Mexico.
Here we have Peter and Paul, two more of our white Chinese geese. And they are free to wander around the zoo or outside of the zoo, and they don't go far because the food is here. With them, we also have a flock of Canadian geese. Sometimes the Canadians come to us injured, and once they're healthy and able to fly, they're perfectly willing or perfectly able to leave, but they choose not to. Life is too good here at Popcorn Park Zoo. Some of these are not able to fly, and will spend the rest of their lives here. They tend to hang out together, and they're a very beautiful goose. Here we have George and Susie, two geese who had a very interesting story. In fact, their story was on in the Philadelphia Inquirer and on the Philadelphia News several years ago. It seemed that George and Susie were living under a wharf which was scheduled for demolition. Susie was sitting on a nest of eggs, and George hovered nearby. Both were being fed by local residents concerned about their welfare, but they were losing weight and they weren't doing well at all. Unfortunately, their eggs were cracked, so although childless, the pair were caught by John Bergman, the manager of Popcorn Park Zoo, and brought to this new haven at Popcorn Park Zoo. They've settled in very nicely. There's no one here to harm them, and they can enjoy their life and eat plenty of good corn and grain and drink plenty of fresh water. They also spend a lot of time with their friends, the Chinese geese, as well as the Canadian geese, and of course the local birds enjoy the corn as well. This is Warren the goose, the white goose amongst the gray. When a society staffer heard about Warren, they were discussing him on WOR radio here in New Jersey on a program called The Pet Show, and the show is hosted by Warren Eckstein. It was ascertained that a caller was concerned for the safety of the goose who was living in a park in Rahway, New Jersey. Society staffers called Warren and said we would rescue the needy goose as long as we could call it Warren. Warren recently laid an egg. Snowy the snow goose came to Popcorn Park Zoo as a juvenile with a broken wing. His wing healed, he's as good as new, and he could fly away, but he's not leaving the good life, which is what he finds here at Popcorn Park Zoo. He's a small goose, as you can see, compared to the other geese around him, but he has a lot of friends, and when you visit the geese at Popcorn Park Zoo, you hear a lot of honking. We have a lot of ducks here at Popcorn Park Zoo. These are some of them. One of them, the little white one, is Pete. Pete's like many of the ducks that come to Popcorn Park Zoo, a former Easter pet. Sometimes we get them because they're abandoned along lakes by people who had them as Easter pets. Sometimes they're injured or they're ill and they end up coming to Popcorn Park Zoo. Occasionally they even stop off when they're migrating because they see a place where they can get a meal and some water. We have many, many ducks throughout the area. If you sponsor Pete, it helps all of the ducks that live at Popcorn Park Zoo. This is the tortoise area of Popcorn Park Zoo. There are 5 tortoises here. 3 of them are spur thigh from the African desert, 1 is a redfoot from South America, and 1 is a leopard tortoise from the African desert. A gentleman had bought these turtles and tortoises and wanted to use them as pets, but as they got big, and you can see they're pretty good-sized tortoises, he decided it was too much trouble to keep them, so they ended up here at Popcorn Park Zoo. They certainly are an interesting group to meet, and they're very popular with the people who come to Popcorn Park Zoo.
Because of predators, most tortoises die within the first 10 years of life. However, some have lived as many as 100 years. And there are 40 species of tortoises. They're actually turtles that live on land, but they have stumpy feet, stumpy hind legs that look very similar to those of an elephant.
Jake the Burmese python came to the Popcorn Park Zoo in 1987 from a church in Matawan, New Jersey. He was spotted soaking up the heat of the sun in late October. The next day, animal control officers were able to track him down due to the coolness of the time of year. Jake is almost 20 feet long and weighs about 250 pounds.
Jake's not the biggest type of python. The reticulate python of Southeast Asia and Southeast Indies is a much larger python that reaches as many as 30 and sometimes more feet.
Jake lives in the new reptile house here at Popcorn Park Zoo, which was built several years ago. In the summertime, he's the only resident inside because the tortoises are outside along with some of the iguanas. But Jake has his own compound, and he's a big boy. He weighs a lot. It's difficult to move around, so we prefer to let him stay in his own home all year round.
Jake's about 18, 20 feet long and weighs approximately 200 to 220 pounds.
Croc is a 3-foot-long South American caiman. He came to Popcorn Park Zoo from a family living in Brigantine, New Jersey. His owner realized he could no longer handle this croc, this caiman. The New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection called the society to see if we would take care of him. He will grow to a length of about 7 to 8 feet, and he's grown quite a bit in the time that he's been here at Popcorn Park.
The smallest species of crocodile is the dwarf caiman of South America. The females only reach about 4 feet, and the males hardly ever get more than 5 feet. And did you know that caiman are the only reptiles that can't stick their tongue out?
Rocco is one of many iguanas that we have at Associated Humane Society's Popcorn Park Zoo. There's not enough room for all the iguanas that come to the society. People go for a walk on the boardwalk and they see booths where they're selling iguanas, and they're cute little reptiles, and they buy them. The problem is that these iguanas grow to be 3 and 4 feet long. As they get older, they need special care. They need veterinarians who know how to take care of them. They become too large for their homes, and people don't know what to do with them. If you want a really nice pet, there are many companion animals at local shelters or at Associated Humane Societies that make wonderful pets. The dog that wags his tail, the cat that rubs against your leg. Iguanas are meant to stay in the wilds where they come from, not to be put into cages in somebody's home. And what do you do when you get one like Rocco, who's big? He's a big boy. He needs a big cage. Some people jam them into little aquarium tanks. And life is not good for the animal, nor is it pleasant for the owner. This is Daisy. Daisy is a Vietnamese pot-bellied pig. About 10 years ago, the fad was to own a pot-bellied pig. They were small and they were like beagle dogs, and they'd never get big. Well, as you can tell by Daisy, she did get big. She came to us in July of 1990 when she was about 5 months old. She had lived in Piscataway, New Jersey in a home. She was purchased as a pet, but as she started to grow, the owner was not happy about her size. She started to knock over furniture in the living room and break things, and doing what pigs do, route around the apartment. It was a very expensive lesson for the owner of Daisy because at that time he spent over $1,000 to buy her. Paco is a blue and gold macaw. He was brought to the shelter in all his voices in 1991 when he was about 4 years old. His owners weren't happy with the loud squawking noises he made, which he still makes, don't you, Paco? And asked us to keep him. Paco now lives in the office at our Forked River facility at Popcorn Park Zoo, where he greets visitors with the following phrases. Hi, bye, Paco, More fresh water. Want to go out? What's your problem? Stop and all right. Jocko the parrot was purchased by a family in Toms River, New Jersey. He lived with them for 6 years, and as the family grew, Jocko became more and more noisy. The owner asked if we would look after him, and we decided to include him on the Wildlife Club program, so he would have someone to love him. Jocko is loved despite the fact that he can be pretty loud at times, but when he talks, he's really quite sweet. Trixie the fox is one of our more shy inhabitants of Popcorn Park Zoo. She doesn't particularly care for having her picture taken, but she is quite a pretty fox. She was just a baby when she was bought as a pet by someone. Luckily, the owner who took her to the vet, and the vet was a very kind and understanding man. So when Trixie ripped up carpeting and caused damage at the house, he gave Trixie to the vet. The vet brought Trixie here, and she's been with us ever since.
Okay, Barbara, I'm going to confuse you a little bit. What's a male fox called?
I have no idea.
A dog.
Really?
And its offspring can be called a pup.
Really?
Isn't that interesting?
Very interesting.
Besides confusing.
This is Spike, the porcupine at Popcorn Zoo. He was brought in by the Newark Animal Control in the spring of 1995. His teeth were shattered and broken, but he was given a special soft food diet and plenty of rest, and he was as good as new in no time. He loves fruit and yams, and he's the quiet, silent type guy.
You know, those quills that we all know so well are actually long, sharp pieces of hair that are fused together.
I understand they can really hurt you if you touch them.
Very sharp.
One of our most popular residents of Popcorn Zoo is Hawkeye, the rhesus monkey. You know, years ago, the rhesus monkey was very popular with experimenters, people who did scientific research. For whatever reason, the rhesus was chosen to be the animal that was going through a lot of painful research. Hawkeye was one of 33 monkeys who were flown into Newark International Airport destined for a research laboratory. He got out of his cage, and they had to call our Newark office to come catch him in the warehouse. Once they caught him, he was brought into Newark and then sent down to Popcorn Park Zoo, and he was spared a fate that could have been very, very horrible for him.
Hawkeye is an old world monkey, which means he comes from Africa or Asia, in this case Asia, as opposed to the New World monkeys, which come from Central and South America. The difference being the size and the tail.
Judy is a macaque monkey. She came to live with us in the middle 1980s. She had been in a home that was not suitable for her and had been given to someone who found homes for monkeys. She made friends with another monkey, and when it died, Judy became very, very depressed. You have to understand that monkeys, all of these animals have feelings, and they love and they miss and they get sad when something they're used to or someone they're used to dies or disappears. So she was having a hard time, and the woman who had her asked if we would take her down here to Popcorn Park, where she'd be around some other monkeys and hopefully would survive. Well, she did come here, and she blossomed, and she's been with us 20 years, and she's doing very, very well.
Judy, being a macaque, is a member of the group of monkeys from the Old World, including langurs and most of the baboon.
Like all monkeys, Judy loves to be preened and played with and picked and have her back scratched. And John Bergman, manager of Popcorn Park Zoo, is helping her out this morning. Judy returns the favor. Jesse is a very energetic and friendly rhesus macaque. He's very popular with the staff as well as with the people who come to visit the zoo. He was purchased by some people as a pet when he was very young, and then he got a little bit older. And like many animals, monkeys assert their authority and their position in their society. The society for Jesse was the family that had bought him and had him as a pet. When he got a little bit too rough and a little bit too challenging, they couldn't keep him. So they gave him up, and he came here to Popcorn Park Zoo.
Anybody can help take care of any one of these animals in this video. by simply sponsoring an animal at a nominal fee of only $2 a month. And for that, you receive a color photo and a report of how your animal's actually doing every 4 months. Plus, you get free admission to the zoo. You can't beat it, and you get to help an animal in the process.
These animals require a lot of care, a lot of special food, veterinary care, housing, and the money from our sponsors and members of the Popcorn Park Zoo Society help to pay that cost for these monkeys.
Nobody knows how long monkeys live in their natural environment, but in captivity, they do live longer than most other mammals except apes and, believe it or not, human beings. Some of these monkeys in captivity can live to be between 30 and 40 years.
Well, these two monkeys are well on their way. Willie, who's the smaller of the two capuchin monkeys here at Popcorn Park Zoo, is kind of shy and timid, but he's very sweet. If you make a loud noise or you move too fast, he will run and hide from you. He was picked up in 1984 in Weehawken, New Jersey, where someone, can you believe this, had abandoned this monkey. Just let him go. We suspect he wasn't treated very well, and he likes Cappy. Cappy helps to give him a little courage. There's courage in numbers, I guess, and Willie certainly uses Cappy to help build up his courage. Cappy is one of our longest living residents here at Popcorn Park Zoo. He came to the society in May of 1977 when someone left him in a cage in front of the society's Newark Animal Care Center. He's very friendly and a bit on the mischievous side. He's quite a bit of a comic also, and he loves to show off for our visitors. Here comes the patriarch of the Popcorn Park Zoo monkey area. His name is Bobo, and he's a stump-tailed macaque. Bobo's story is a sad one. He came to us in August of 1983 when he was about 8 years old. He had been kept as a pet by an Irvington, New Jersey resident. His owner had a band, and they would practice their very loud music. And the music stressed Bobo out so badly that he started mutilating himself, tearing at his skin and tearing out his hair. When it was obvious that he had developed psychological problems, they decided they didn't want him anymore. So Bobo was brought here to Popcorn Park Zoo. His past experiences have left some marks on his personality, but he gets along very well here, and he enjoys being with Clementine. Well, if Bobo is the patriarch, certainly Clementine is the matriarch. She's in her 30s and shows her age by her color, and getting around is a little bit harder than it was when she was a young monkey. Just like Bobo, she suffered at the hands of human beings. Clementine was about 11 years old in 1982 and was living in a zoo in New York City. A disgruntled zookeeper hosed her down with scalding water from a pressure hose. Clementine suffered burns over 50% of her body. Some areas of her body will not grow hair now because the hair roots were so badly damaged by the scalding water. She went through a terrible time recuperating and getting over those burns. But today, she's a very happy monkey, playing with her blanket, enjoying her pineapples, and the beautiful morning here at Popcorn Park Zoo.
I'm sure it goes without saying that without Popcorn Zoo and without its supporters, animals like these simply would not be.
JR is certainly walking and talking this morning. He has a lot to say for himself. JR is a crab-eating macaque. He was part of a traveling circus, one of those circuses that travel up and down the highways of America going from one town to another, keeping their animals in cages all the time. But this particular circus, one of their trailers broke down, and JR and some other animals were on the trailer. 2 days after the breakdown, no one from the circus had come to feed or water the animals. Luckily, Popcorn Park Zoo was there doing that job. The SPCA filed some charges against the circus, and it was decided to leave the animals here at Popcorn Park Zoo.
Even these monkeys that live on the ground are very adept at climbing, and the reason for that is every one of them is a descendant of the monkeys that used to live in trees.
Buster is a white-faced capuchin monkey. Fish and Game confiscated him from his owner in Somerville, New Jersey. Remember, you can't have monkeys in your home here in New Jersey. Buster was a year and a half old when he came to Popcorn Park Zoo in October of 1991. When you watch him run around and you watch him play, you will definitely see the prehensile tail in action. He uses it when he climbs. He'll grab a hold of the wire with that tail. He's a very active monkey who likes to play. Kaylee is the companion animal to Buster, another white-faced capuchin. She was owned by an airline attendant from Wisconsin, but when he moved to New Jersey, he was told he couldn't keep the monkey in his home. She was about 8 years old and arrived here at Popcorn Park Zoo in 1997. She and Buster have become good friends and share this play area together. Mr. Wiggles is a squirrel monkey. He was found in a tree in Hillside, New Jersey. Once the owner came to our Newark facility to pick him up, we found out that he didn't have a permit to keep the monkey and he couldn't be released. So Mr. Wiggles came to live here at Popcorn Park Zoo.
You know, you used to be able to order these monkeys from comic books when I was a kid, which is absolutely deplorable. He comes from the South American rainforest also, and you know, he is small, but the smallest monkey on record is about 6 inches long, not including the tail, and it goes all the way up to 32 inches to one of the larger monkeys, not including the tail.
Right now you're watching one of our most indispensable workers here at Popcorn Park Zoo. He's our maintenance supervisor, Ephraim. Right now he's working on a new pen for some of our emus to give them a little more room. There's always something going on here at Popcorn Park Zoo. There's always room being made for another animal or improvement to the kennels or to the Popcorn Park Zoo itself. If there's an electrical problem, a plumbing problem, any problem that happens here at the zoo, Ephraim is called, and he's a very skilled worker. The job gets done.
Even our maintenance people, our maintenance workers, are extreme animal lovers, Barbara. I've seen them drop their tools and run at the first notice of an animal being sick or an animal being injured or an animal trying to get loose. I've seen them go out in the very worst of storms and the threat of fire. Just drop everything they're doing and run and do everything that they can do to help these animals to make their day and their lives a little bit better. And as you said, their job never stops. It's 24/7.
We hope we've been able to show you how much love and care is given here at Popcorn Park Zoo. As a matter of fact, once an employee of ours wrote a creed by which we live here at the zoo. David's going to read that for you.
A creed that was written by one of our employees that we truly try to live by and work by. We are a special family, but this is not our home. It is theirs. We won't look down at them, and they don't look up to us. We are equal. We are here to serve them, just as you are here to visit them. In return, they give us all something wonderful that we can't give ourselves. There are no limits as to how much we can love them. However, we know that our knowledge limits how much we can do for them. As hard as we work and as hard as we pull together, it sometimes just isn't enough. And when it isn't, a little piece of each of us goes with them. But we will never stop working. We will never stop trying. We will never give up hope. We gain strength from knowing that someday, when it's our turn to cross that bridge, we will be together again because we are a special family. This is Samson, one of the newer members of our family, obviously one of the hooved animals here at the zoo, with his two caretakers, Bill and Jeff. Bill and Jeff love to brush these horses and give them all the personal care that they can. Barb, it looks like Samson's gained a little weight since he came here.
Samson is really looking beautiful.
How much do you think that guy eats in a day?
I believe he gets 6 pounds of grain a day and does a quarter of a bale of Timothy a day, so he eats pretty good.
Well, I'll say one thing, he sure looks happy.
He certainly does.
I think Jeff's about to get into the main job there, brushing.
Yeah, Samson's mane is quite a bit to brush.
He's gorgeous. know, can they do everything these horses need? Or these hooved animals need to care for them?
Bill and Jeff are hard workers here at Popcorn Park Zoo. They're responsible for carrying and bringing out all the hay and grain for the various hooved animals. They're responsible for cleaning them, as they're doing with Samson. They also help around the zoo, other staff members when they're cleaning up the zoo, removing debris. They're very fine workers and very important to our family here.
What do they do about the feet? I know when you think of horses and hooved animals, you're always thinking of horseshoes and split nails and split hooves and hooves that are too thick and too thin.
Well, you know, the people who work on animals, on hooved animals, are called farriers. We have a farrier who comes here who cuts and trims the feet of these horses and ponies and donkeys. We also have a different farrier who comes and cuts the hooves of goats. A lot of people don't realize that goats' hooves also have to be cut.
Well, you know, when it comes to these hooved animals, you can see that Popcorn Zoo just isn't horsing around.
No, they're not. There's excellent care here for these animals. In this compound, when you come to visit the zoo, you'll find 3 of our cougars. Sometimes people call them mountain lions, sometimes they call them puma. Certainly, in order to have these animals as pets, their previous owners declawed them. So it's kind of frustrating for them to dig on wood because they can't really do what they would like to do. Here come Dante and Gina, our newest additions to Popcorn Park Zoo. John, these animals have quite a background to them. Would you like to share that with us?
Yeah, they're only 4 years old, but they've traveled around a lot. Whoop. That was Gina. She's a little. This is a new pen for her, and she's a little cautious about coming into it. But they were born in East Texas at an animal facility that bred tigers for sale or whatever. I guess I don't know, but it went under very quickly. They really couldn't support themselves. So Dante and Gina were sold off. They're sold off to some woman who had a game ranch where they would hunt. People would pay to hunt antelope, deer, native animals to the state. And she bought these with the idea of possibly having a canned hunt where people would pay money to shoot and kill tigers. And Fish and Wildlife got wind of this proposal she was putting out in ads, and let her know that it was illegal and that she would face jail time and fines if she had done this. So they notified USDA, who was in charge of captive animals and how they're kept, because they needed to be looked at. They were living in a stock horse trailer that was 20 foot long. They couldn't be cleaned properly. They weren't fed properly. They had urine burns from the hay having all their stool and urine on it. They had burns on their pads, their feet, and their elbows. So after about 7 months of living like this, the USDA
was established in 1977 for the sole purpose of providing a refuge for wildlife that was sick, elderly, abandoned, abused, or injured, and which could no longer survive in its natural habitat. It is one of the few federally licensed zoos of its kind in the United States. As time went on, we expanded to accept exotic and domestic animals who faced similar circumstances. Over 200 of these animals now live in spacious surroundings in the heart of the scenic Pine Barrens in southern New Jersey. The zoo comprises 7 acres and is graced by the indigenous scrub oak and scrub pine. But what really makes Popcorn Zoo so special is that each animal was rescued from suffering, exploitation, and/or death. Each has its own unique story to tell. You may learn these stories as you walk through the zoo, as you leaf through the pages of our booklets that are available, and as you watch this video. You have entered a quiet world where all the residents were once in danger and are now safe. To start your journey, bring your curiosity, your respect for these beautiful creatures, and let us welcome you to Popcorn Zoo.
One of my favorite places to visit at Popcorn Park is the aviary. The one in the green shirt without the feathers is Teresa. Teresa's job is to be sure that these animals, these birds, are well cared for and checked for medical problems. She feeds them early in the morning because birds have a very fast metabolism and need to be fed early and often. As you can see, we have cockatiels and parakeets. All of these animals were once pets and were no longer wanted. Teresa gets to have a very sweet morning because they're always singing to her and they're eager to see her because she's the food lady. She also provides fresh, clean water every day for them to bathe in and for them to drink. But they're all the same animal. This is Sheba. Sheba was a pet, would you believe, tied to a doghouse in the backyard of Manalapan, New Jersey. She was able to get over a wall on her chain and was choking to death. Luckily, she was rescued. Finally, the people realized that this was not the pet for them, and she was sent down here to Popcorn Park Zoo. In this compound, pretty soon, you're going to see 2 more of our mountain lions coming out to play with Sheba, and they do play. It's a beautiful morning, and they're enjoying the cool air.
Here come Tasha and Cindy, and all 3 of these animals were once pets. You know, people think these things are cute and cuddly when they're small, but little do they realize as they get bigger, they do require special food, a special environment, they have to be taken to special vets, and they are not intended to be pets. And this is how they end up here with us at Popcorn Zoo for a wonderful, wonderful remainder of their lives.
This is Cindy. Cindy was a pet with a young man in Pennsylvania. Unfortunately, she was in the car when the fellow was in a car accident. He was killed. Cindy was escaped and was later captured and brought back here to Popcorn Park Zoo to live out her life. Oh, she has a lot to say this morning. This is Tasha, the cougar, who came to Popcorn Park Zoo from New York. Once again, she was a pet. These animals need special care. They're not meant to be domestic animals kept in someone's home. They need lots of room, and they need some friends to play with.
You know, Barb, cougars in this good a shape can run approximately 50 miles an hour.
That fast?
They are, yeah, guys like this in this good a shape that are this well taken care of, they can reach 50 miles an hour without a problem.
Tasha's doing the kind of thing that your typical domestic cat does. She's going to scratch on that wood a little bit. Unfortunately,
Hi, I'm Ranger Dave,
and I'm Barbara.
and we're about to give you a tour of one of the most wonderful places on earth. We're going to give you a private tour around the Associated Humane Society's Popcorn Zoo and our animal shelter. We're going to show you all of our animals, how we take care of them, how we feed them, the medical care that they get. We're going to show you, most of all, the love and the care and the attention that they all get, Barb.
They're very lucky when animals come to Associated Humane Societies, whether it's the zoo here at Lacey Township or it's the Humane Society in Tinton Falls or Newark. All of these animals get a lot of love and a lot of good care.
You know, I'm really excited about this whole thing. I can't wait to get started. Let's get out in that zoo.
Great idea.
Popcorn Zoo